For the past 8 years, this has been my main lens, or at least this focal length, which is 24mm f1.4. I got my first 24mm lens back in 2017, which was the Sigma for Canon, and it was so awesome that as soon as I got a Sony camera, I ordered it with the Sony 24mm f1.4 because I wanted a wide lens with a shallow that could give a shallow depth of field, and this has been awesome, and it's been my main lens ever since, and I love it. When you film a lot of stuff, maybe you're kind of like me, if you film things over and over again in the same space, you get to know that space really, really well. And so you try to optimize the space. Sometimes you try to add things to add some visual interest. You try to design it. You try to build it out in a certain way. And you really start to know your space and your style and what things look like. So when something comes along that gives you an entirely new perspective on something you're so used to, it can be really exciting. Enter the Sigma 20mm f1.4 lens, which is something I would like to shift our focus to because I have never used this lens until yesterday. And now I really, really want this lens, because even though I'm using it right now, I do not own this lens. This video is not sponsored, but I am going to ask the lens owner to help us out, because you might know my good friend Bronson from the Audio Hotline YouTube channel, where he knows basically anything and everything. If you want someone who actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to microphones and audio interfaces and software and mixers and anything to do with audio, he is definitely the go-to guy to go to. So I want to bring him in to talk about camera lenses today. So even though I'm not talking about audio with the guy from Audio Hotline, believe it or not, you actually know about other things.
A little bit, just a tiny bit.
Well, when it comes to video production, videography, cameras and stuff, you are actually one of, if not the most knowledgeable person I know.
Oh.
Also with a very keen and specific, like, technical eye. So here's the situation. You're strongly convincing me to spend $900 on this lens.
Yes, absolutely.
And this has been, I've only used this lens, this is the first time I've ever used the lens, but I only saw it for the first time yesterday. And my mind, I wish we were recording because my reaction was like genuine mind blown.
It was awesome, honestly.
But this has been your main lens for a while?
Yeah, it's been about, I would say, 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we film in similar spaces. So this is, it's about 12 feet by 12 feet. So that's, I don't know, what is it, 4 meters, 4 meters. And I think your space, you said, is just a little like longer.
Yeah, it's like 10 by 14 probably.
So super similar. Wide lenses. If you notice, the shot did totally change. Now this was originally set up for my 24mm. So if you kind of see some things that are like not ideal for this, it would be different if I were just recording with this lens from the start, but I wanted you to see that comparison from start to finish. The quality, and there's a little less like background blur here looking at the monitor over there, but I've never seen so much like depth of field on such shallow depth of field on a wide angle lens before, and that's kind of what blew my mind.
Yeah, it honestly gives it a perspective of just like, you still have the separation and everything, but it's not so tight, you know? And I will say that Sigma did an amazing job with this lens. I was a little bit skeptical when I bought it initially because I did use the 24 G Master for, 2 years, I would say, but it instantly just replaced it.
Yeah, G Master's my DJ name too, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I love the 24. I used to really like 35mm because I felt on a full frame it looked really natural and like cinematic. And then as someone who primarily found himself filming in a small environment, the wider field of view of the 24 just kind of worked. Actually, I have my 24 over here on the A7S III, so it's not exactly framed the same, but 24mm, 20mm, 24, 20. We can sort of see how that goes there. What I wanted to start here so we could see what the lens looked like in this space, and then I'm hoping you can tell us, and by us I mean me, because I know all this, but they might not know. So if you could tell them, then I already know it though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah. If you could tell us about this lens from a long-term perspective. So I have like the first impression, mind-blowing kind of thing, and then you have like I've used this for a long time on tons of projects perspective. And then we can hopefully just learn and figure out a little bit more about this lens along the way. So I think that means actually 2 switch back so we can like hold this lens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, actually, there's something I want to do before that, just to give, which is perfect now. So I do have this lens over here. And one thing we talked about was you are doing a wider field of view. So you did notice when we changed, and it's not, again, not the same framing, but certain things like cables under my desk here. Right, I did have like this shelf, which luckily had nice looking things on it. More of the space you're filming is going to be visible with a wider lens.
Absolutely.
I know that makes sense, but if you're someone who has the cone of cleanliness and
nothing else, yeah,
you're going to have to adapt to that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that was really blowing my mind kind of before we get into like the specifics of this lens, and why I never really considered it is because I have this lens, which is the Tamron 20-40. I love this lens. I've done videos on this lens, and it's a 2.8, which is awesome, especially for the price. Like, this is such a really cool, versatile lens. It goes to 20 millimeters. This goes to 20 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
This is f1.4. This is f2.8.
Yep.
Those are different numbers.
Oh yeah. Those are. I think it's 50%. No, it's way more. It's honestly like it's not that simple, but yeah, it's.
The thing, like, there's nothing that I'm surprised that like an f1.4 lens has, you know, a more shallow depth of field, can do blurry backgrounds than an f2.8. But when it comes to wide lenses, I've always just kind of written off it as being like, you're not really going to notice because on wide lenses, it's not as noticeable. I'm going to put this lens on just so we can see. And then later in the video, I actually want to like set up a shot where we set it up for this lens. So we really emphasize
for sure.
the strengths of it. So this is 20 millimeters f1.4 at 1.4. And this is 20 millimeters at f2.8. So just real quick, I'm in my final cut now, and I just kind of wanted to show some of the difference here, especially if you look at the posters in the background, like the text and stuff. With the 2.8 on the Tamron, you can kind of read everything. If we go to 1.4 on the Sigma, you can still read some of it, but that's where you kind of notice more of the blur. There's also kind of this like, I don't even know what to describe it, like a lens distortion effect. So if I look at the Sigma 20 and then go to the Tamron, it almost looks like the Sigma has less of a fisheye effect. Like especially the walls in the back here kind of look a little straighter and stuff like that. Also in the Tamron shot, please ignore that in the upper right, I had the mic boom arm. I just framed it badly. So I have a lot of lighting. It looks nice. The colors are still there. The clarity, we're still on the same thing, but it's got a very wide depth of field, almost like an action camera. Everything's in focus, even though this is as wide as the aperture on the lens can go. And that's when I saw a huge difference between these two. Now we're back on my normal 24 millimeter f1. Oh my God.
You're good. You got it.
Now we're back on my normal 24 millimeter f1.4 G Master at f1.4. I did also have to boost the ISO to do the 20-40 right here, but we're on this lens specifically so you can see this lens, the Sigma 24, and tell me about this.
So
without sounding like the whole shopping network.
Yeah, I'll try.
Wow, what product did you bring today?
So this is the 20 millimeter f1.4. This lens, I would say that it just feels very good. Like it feels great. And I don't feel like it's too heavy. I feel like Sigma has kind of gone away from that a little bit.
Right.
Where they just used to make the bulkiest, biggest lenses. And I did actually, before this trip, I was considering bringing my 24 G Master just because it is a little bit smaller. Mm-hmm. But then I put them right next to each other and it was like minuscule. And I will say that this does have like just such a good build quality that I don't have an issue, you know, throwing it in my bag or whatever. I feel like the G Master can feel a little toyish at times.
So,
a little bit.
Yeah, so when I got my G Master in 2021, I did a review on it after I had it for a while, and that was one of the things I noted, because prior to that, I was using the Sigma 24, the EF one, which actually my wife Heather uses on. She uses it with an adapter on her Sony ZV-1 currently, so it's still a great lens. But that lens felt really good, and I also had other other Canon L series lenses, which they have a lot of heft and a lot of bulk to them in a good way. And then I got that, which was $1,400, and it's a little lightweight,
yeah.
Which you could say is technological advancement.
Is a benefit, you know?
Yeah,
you could say that.
Because obviously there's benefits to a lightweight lens, but from the day I bought my 24 millimeter, I've loved the image quality out of it. But I have always felt kind of like, there's a little plasticiness.
There is.
There's a little it probably isn't going to survive a drop or a hard knock as much as
No,
you would
I
want
would
it
say,
to. And this one feels awesome, including the focus ring is like
it's so big.
it's
and the tension on it is awesome.
it's perfect. It's
Oh.
for sure better, like objectively
yeah.
better. And the lens itself, not that it's the same focal length, but it is what, $500 cheaper now, I think.
Yeah, so it's like $989 right now, I think, and the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
one's $13.
I think the other one bumped up
20?
too.
Okay.
So $4-ish $100 difference between the two. This lens does, just like the 24mm, have the option to have a manual aperture ring that you can do clicked or declicked. So in terms of like features, it's got all the same things like the Sony G Master does, which is super, super cool. You have all the manual controls on there as well, because I have a couple lenses that, like, even my Tamron that I love does not have like a manual focus switch or a manual aperture or anything. You just have your zoom ring, focus ring, that's it.
Yeah.
Not a problem. It can be a little bit inconvenient. I just bring that up. So it has all the same specs. There's one, the thing that is, as much as I love Sigma lenses, the thing that's kept me away from them is what this is missing, but turns out maybe not a big deal.
What is that?
Breathing.
Yeah, there you go.
To compensate. Yes. So if you have a Sony lens, and this has been something I absolutely love because it was a problem when I was using my old Sigma lens on my old Canon camera, was focus breathing.
Yeah.
So even though I'm here, you would have like this lamp especially. If I moved a little bit, you would see it pulsing, and you'd see the edges of the frames kind of moving in and out a lot. And especially as someone who likes to shoot at I know. I mean, if the lens goes to f1.4, it's going to f1.4.
I'm doing it. Yeah.
It just is. Okay, I'm sorry. Then focus breathing issues become really evident. Sony cameras like the FX3 that I'm using have the option with compatible Sony lenses to have focus breathing compensation, which basically through like some kind of tiny crop combined with magic means it don't do that. It means it don't do that.
Means it don't do that.
And it doesn't. So it's just locked down the same way as if it were just in manual focus. There's no issues with focus breathing.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing that's kept me away from the more affordable Sigma lenses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
This don't breathe. It's not a person. So
Well, okay. I like to assume my objects have sentience, but that's just because I was a weird only child, so I had no human friends.
yeah.
Anyway,
You were.
So if this had breathing issues, especially as your primary lens,
Oh, I wouldn't use it at all. Yeah. And that was a big thing too, is like if it was going to breathe, I would have sent it back like instantly. Honestly, I wouldn't even considered it because I did love my G Master and I just wanted to give this a try. And it won me over. The manual focus, the autofocus lock and manual focus lock is actually very beneficial for like astrophotography.
Okay.
If you're going to use it for that. And like photography in general, I would say, because like you want to focus to infinity
and beyond.
and beyond. Yeah. And then when you take that picture, like sometimes you'll hit the shutter or whatever, and then it just doesn't want to cooperate,
Yeah.
So I would say that that's a good thing.
That's a good point, because I'm obviously I use this primarily for talking head style stuff in controlled environments, but other people use the lenses for, other things that aren't that.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, it is crazy. And it also does have a, 82 millimeter
Yeah.
filter diameter.
Yeah.
And then we looked up some charts online. Obviously, I'm an English major, not a math major. 20 millimeters is 4 wider than 24.
That is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yes. But you were like, well, if we're looking at field of view, if you had like a 180 where you see everything in the plane, this was like
94 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a 24 millimeter is like an 84.
Yeah, 84.
So 10 degrees doesn't sound like a huge difference, but if you think of like, I don't know, it would be more than 10, it'd be a 12, 13% increase.
Oh yeah, I would think, yeah.
If you get a 12 to 13% raise at your job, that's a massive raise.
it.
And as we just talked about, focus breathing compensation virtually changes nothing, but it does introduce a tiny, tiny crop. And if you are using this lens handheld, wait, is there stabilization on here?
No, there's no stab. No.
Okay. And there is stabilization on that one. But you
Wait,
can.
is there?
Isn't? Wait.
I don't think there is.
No.
Oh.
I'm going to edit that out. If you are using this handheld and you want to use your camera's built-in stabilization, you can use active stabilization, which normally puts in a huge crop.
Yep.
And now
you're like rocking a 24 essentially.
Basically, yeah. And I'll show the example and then let's switch to this. So this is 24 millimeters, no active stabilization crop. And this is 24 millimeters with active stabilization. So it cropped in quite a bit. Not a huge deal in a situation like this. I can move further back, the camera can move further away. But if you're hand holding it, if you're in a cramped environment, every millimeter matters.
It counts, yeah.
Now.
Oh, there we go.
I sure hope I edited that. Wow, okay. This is now 20 millimeters with active stabilization turned on. So this is not just wider. Obviously, it's going to be wider, but this with active stabilization is still wider than my 24 with no stabilization.
That is actually crazy.
That's kind of nuts.
That is, yeah.
So here's what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn off active stabilization and we're going to reposition ourselves to kind of like lean into this lens's strength so you can really see kind of like why I fell in love with it.
So with the 24, we were like down, like kind of low. I felt like it just looked kind of weird a bit. But I feel like if you're going to be working with this where it is wider, so like like the sides are a little bit more distorted, I would say, you probably want to like angle it up and lift it up a bit and then angle it down slightly just to get a similar field of view.
Okay. So we totally changed the angle here really to kind of emphasize what you can do with this lens, which is we're really close. I'm basically just past arm's length away. I don't have freakishly long arms, so that's just about, I don't know, 3
They're actually very small. Like,
yeah, like suspiciously tiny arms. But we can be, I'm closer, much closer to this than I would be with my 24 normally, but I'm really taking about the same. We're taking about the same space in the frame, but we still have this wide view. And if you look, especially since we're shooting into a corner where there's depth, you look at the guitars, you look at the stuff on the wall, it's out of focus in the good way. And that's, you kind of helped explain like this lens seems to work.
Yeah, it just
better.
You just want to like move it. I would say that it's, I mean, you have to treat it like it is a very wide angle lens because it is. Like, 20, I feel like 24 is a little bit forgiving in the sense of like, it kind of just, you can set it wherever and it'll just, captures. But with this, I would say that there's some placement that you have to take into consideration.
And it doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't really distort. I'm not getting like a fisheye effect.
It's not too bad that way.
The thing that I really like, and so this is a thing that's very hard to communicate through video, is this looks the way that it looks, but if I look in here, it's totally an optical illusion. It looks like there's so much more room back here than there is in real life.
Dude, I'm like, let's see, like 6 feet, like maybe.
Yeah, maybe, probably a little more than 6 feet, and it looks like you're a mile and a half away over there.
Exactly.
Like, so that is kind of the crazy thing. If you have a tiny space that you're shooting in, this will open it up, especially if you can put a little bit of distance, shoot into a corner. This is really going to open it up and kind of like play with scale in a different way, because I feel like 24 kind of does keep things looking pretty much like they look when I'm there. Like, but this is, I remember it's the first time I went to like a TV set for like a talk show. It was actually like Conan's late night show. I went to a taping there, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, the desk is so tiny, and the set is, everything is so tiny, but it looks so expansive on screen. You realize like, oh, they're using a ton of wide lenses to make that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of the same thing here. Like, this is opening it up, and so for me, it feels like it adds like so much breathability to this space. Which, again, it's not that one is better, worse, right, wrong. It's just
a different option.
It's a different option, and having been used to something, it's almost like I feel like I kind of, if I were to use this lens regularly, it's almost like remodeling the space without having to do anything.
You unlocked the room.
Yeah. Yes, that sounds so fancy. So one thing that you do on your channel in a more legitimate way than I do is macro stuff, because something similarly that we do a lot is we have to do B-roll of products, and products have little buttons and levers and dials and things, and you want to get kind of these cool close-up shots. I'll use something like my 85 millimeter lens, which does not have, like, you have to actually be really far away to keep things in focus with that lens, and then I just crop in, and because that's what I got, and that's what works best. You do like more legit macro stuff.
Well, some people do call me Mac Daddy.
Oh.
Yeah, so I use the 90 millimeter. Actually, I use 2 different 90 millimeter lenses from Tamron and then one from
So I'm
Sony.
cropping the incorrect type of lens, and you're using two of the correct type, two of the same correct type of lens.
But then also I do have like the 70 to 180 Tamron, which is like the 70 is a macro. But yeah, no, I do love my
But
macro.
this has macro options.
Yeah, it actually. So apparently,
Does
this
this?
one is like a 1 point or a 1.5. 1 to 1.5.
I got.
Let me see. Let me see this. 1 semicolon.
Okay.
5.9. I'm trying to think of why can't I say that? I don't understand.
1 to 5.
This one has a 1 to 5.9
That's the Sony.
macro reproduction.
didn't
Yeah.
even-
And actually I wasn't able to find any information on the Sony, so we'll just
The Sigma Sony.
yeah, okay, I'm gonna try it out. I'm
Okay.
gonna try again. So the Sony has a 1 to 5.9 reproduction macro or whatever.
I know what that means.
And yeah, so, but I couldn't find the information on the Sigma as far as that goes. What I would do in this case is probably just like put the manual focus on,
Okay.
and then just crank it as far as I could,
Well, let's
and then.
Okay, that looks pretty legit.
Jeez, dude.
You see some fisheye stuff going on,
for sure,
but that's kind of awesome though. Also,
dude.
and the background has been obliterated.
Oh, I'm like I'm just nothing. Hi.
That is pretty wild. And this is, I mean, what is this? 5 inches from the lens, maybe?
I would say 3 inches.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is pretty nutso butso. But we can also then, oh wait, we can see bokeh, like the
Yeah.
the
Oh,
qualities.
yeah, so there's
of
like
the
a little
bokeh.
bit of a cat's eye effect toward the corner, but I will say the center is very circular.
Oh, yeah, you can see. Yeah, you can see the bokeh balls in the middle of the frame are more circular, and the one that's kind of down on the side that you're standing did have.
Little cat's eye. But
Which, like, that stuff never bothers me. I don't know how to put that
Yeah.
back into thing.
no, you're good.
Which, those types of, like, I like those issues with lens.
Characteristics,
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
want everything to be perfect and uniform. I like when lenses kind of have a little bit of like funkiness to
Yeah,
them.
no, I get that.
So if a bokeh blurry thing in the slight corner has a not perfectly circular, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, it's great. And honestly, I think it happens with a vast majority of lenses, right?
I think it's just the laws of physics. Like you can't affect that. So where I'm at with this is you were saying like you could honestly sell your 24 and fund this and potentially even turn a
Oh,
profit
yeah, absolutely.
on that, especially in this economy.
Yeah.
I am not at that point where I'm ready to do that. Although like I did go like, well, I could do that. For me and my setup, like literally, I wish we were recording yesterday when I put it on the camera. We kind of had it over here in a similar setup. I was like genuine reaction of it was like seeing this space that I'm so used to for the first time again.
Yeah.
And that is very cool. So instantly I see a lot of value in that. And it's something that like I want to prioritize like right to the top of my like equipment purchase priority list is where that goes for me. So switching to a different camera angle now, there are a few other things we wanted to point out, and I just want to kind of show the versatility of this lens in this space. And I also wanted to show we're not using any filters. Use a
Use a glimmer glass.
Glimmer, yeah.
Glimmer.
Wait, do you have your glimmer glass?
Yeah, I do. This right. Yep, there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's
So
right on there. That's perfect.
Okay, wait. So what am I?
It adds some.
Oh, yeah,
halation
yeah,
To
okay.
the image. So
what the
it's-
hell is halation?
It just makes the lights look good.
Okay, well, because the other thing is I have this anamorphic one, which will then give you the
Yeah, there we
flares.
go. Oh.
We look glamorous.
Dude, that is
This-
glimmer glamour.
Yeah.
Right there.
we can go to the mall and get some portraits done. So the thing we didn't talk about when we were sitting down was the fact that I am using this on a full frame camera.
Yes.
And that is very important to keep in mind too.
Yeah, because if you are going to get a Sony lens, like an E-mount lens, this is also available on the L-mount Alliance. So, but if you're going to get that, it's going to be a 30 millimeter, which is a great focal length, but it's not nearly as wide. But if you're looking for something a bit wider, I would go with like the Sony 15 1.4. I think that Viltrox has some cool stuff going on
Yeah.
as far as like a little bit more budget, so you could look there too. But just keep that in mind. This is full frame. Oh yeah, I was gonna say. But it is interesting how let me see.
Is it interesting?
No, not really. So if you are gonna put this on a Super 35 camera like the A6700, it will be 30 millimeters. But the 24 millimeter G Master that we've been talking about would be 36 millimeters.
That's a big
actually.
difference.
Yeah. So it's even greater difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts or things that people should?
I would just say, like, with lenses, creativity is a very big part of it. And so I do like trying different lenses and everything just to kind of like spark some creativity and like just to feel like my room is a little bit different
Yeah.
or whatever. And then I can see it and then I can be like, oh, well, what if I put this somewhere else or whatever, and just like rearrange stuff.
Yeah.
And I just think I think it's fun.
I like it when stuff like it's, and as soon as something adds the what if, like we were using the Obsbot Tail 2 earlier a lot, and this is a camera that did that. It like, because of what it can do, it made me think like, well, what if could I? Any kind of piece of gear that does that, I think is like some of the most fun and most valuable gear that you can get.
Yeah, and that's why I love wide angle lenses and macro lenses. Wildly different, but
And if people want to see those in action, they should go check out the Audio Hotline YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And
sure.
if all this lens talk is making you go like, I don't know where to begin, I actually have a lens guide video that kind of walks you through the basic different types of lenses. So if you don't know where to begin, you're trying to figure out what lens is right for you, you can check that video out. Bronson, thank you for being here. I'm going to steal your lens, and I'll see you later. I don't know how to end videos. That's funny.